July 2023. A London jury acquitted Kevin Spacey of 9 criminal charges. October 2022. A New York jury found him not liable in a civil trial. No conviction. No prison sentence. Yet since October 2017, he has not returned to a major Hollywood studio film or a flagship streaming series. A 2-time Oscar winner cleared in court, but still erased from the center of the industry. If the legal system said not guilty, why does his career still look like a sentence? Before the trials, before the headlines, before the word acquitted ever appeared next to his name, Kevin Spacey was one of the most secure men in Hollywood. In 1996, he won his first Academy Award for The Usual Suspects. In 2000, he won Best Actor for American Beauty. 2 Oscars in 4 years place him in an elite tier of performers whose careers rarely collapse. By 2013, he became the face of Netflix's boldest gamble. House of Cards launched with a reported investment of over $100 million for its first 2 seasons. Spacey was not just the lead actor. He was executive producer. The series revolved around him. Frank Underwood spoke directly to the camera about power, loyalty, and survival. Millions streamed the show worldwide. Netflix's subscriber growth accelerated during that era. At the same time, Spacey had already spent over a decade leading London's Old Vic Theatre, overseeing more than 200 productions between 2004 and 2015. Prestige, authority, global influence. By the mid-2010s, he stood at the intersection of cinema, streaming, and theater leadership. If a man as established, as decorated, could be removed within days and never fully restored even after acquittal, what does that say about who truly decides a career's fate? Kevin Spacey was born Kevin Spacey Fowler on July 26, 1959, in South Orange, New Jersey. He grew up in a household shaped by discipline and unpredictability. His father, Thomas Jeffrey Fowler, worked as a technical writer but held rigid political views and maintained a volatile presence at home. Stability was never guaranteed. The family moved repeatedly during Spacey's childhood, relocating across states in search of work and footing. For a young boy, that meant new schools, new social hierarchies, and constant adjustment. Adaptation became instinct rather than choice. In environments where authority dominates and emotional warmth fluctuates, children often learn to read atmospheres quickly. Spacey developed an early awareness of tone, posture, and reaction. Survival required observation. Approval required performance. If the rules shifted, he shifted with them. That flexibility would later become one of his professional strengths. During his teenage years in California, he attended Chatsworth High School. It was there that drama classes offered something different from home life. On stage, structure existed, but it was predictable. Scripts had boundaries. Characters had arcs. Applause followed clarity. Acting allowed him to control timing and outcome in ways real life did not. Performance was not just expression, it was regulation. He eventually dropped Fowler and adopted Spacey, his grandmother's maiden name. The name change symbolized reinvention. Identity, he seemed to understand early, could be shaped. What others saw depended on what he presented. In an industry where narrative defines power, that lesson proved crucial. After high school, Spacey moved to New York to pursue acting more seriously. He attended Juilliard for a period, though he did not complete the program. Formal credentials mattered less than discipline. Theater required preparation and composure. There were no second takes on stage. If something faltered, the audience witnessed it in real time. That pressure strengthened his ability to remain calm under scrutiny and precise under expectation. Unlike many young actors seeking visibility, Spacey did not cultivate tabloid presence. He kept personal details private. Interviews centered on craft rather than relationships. He did not build celebrity through exposure. He built authority through restraint. Privacy became both boundary and shield. This foundation shaped the persona that later emerged in Hollywood. Articulate, composed, technically controlled. Public appearances rarely revealed emotional excess. Personal disclosures remained minimal. Over time, that controlled image created distance, and distance created mystique. From early on, control functioned as both defense and strategy. He learned how to manage perception, before he learned how to manage fame. The same skill that allowed him to navigate unstable environments as a child later allowed him to navigate high-pressure industries as an adult. But when identity is built around managing what others see, what happens when the narrative escapes your direction and moves beyond your control? By the early 1980s, Kevin Spacey was no longer experimenting with performance. He was refining it. New York theater became his proving ground. Off-Broadway roles demanded precision and endurance rather than instant fame. He studied cadence, silence, and psychological layering. Directors began to notice his discipline. He did not arrive with celebrity energy. He arrived prepared. Unlike many actors chasing rapid recognition, Spacey's ascent was incremental. He built reputation within theater circles first. That distinction mattered. Theater operates on trust. If an actor misses cues or underperforms, the damage is immediate and visible. Spacey's reliability made him valuable. Reliability often precedes influence. In 1995, The Usual Suspects shifted his trajectory. His portrayal of Verbal Kint relied less on spectacle and more on restraint. The twist ending reframed the entire performance, revealing how carefully calibrated his subtlety had been. In March 1996, he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. The industry recognized not just talent, but technical mastery. For years later, American Beauty positioned him at the center rather than the margins. Lester Burnham was disillusioned and conflicted, yet grounded. The performance resonated with audiences worldwide. In 2000, Spacey accepted the Academy Award for Best Actor. 2 Oscars in 4 years placed him within a rare professional bracket. Few actors reach that level so decisively. But even at this stage, he maintained distance from celebrity culture. He was not defined by paparazzi cycles or tabloid narratives. Interviews focus on craft. Public appearances remain measured. Privacy continued to function as policy. In 2004, he accepted the role of artistic director at London's Old Vic Theatre. This decision altered his position within the industry. He was no longer solely an actor responding to opportunities. He became a decision-maker. Between 2004 and 2015, more than 200 productions were staged under his leadership. That meant influence over programming, casting, and emerging talent. Authority shifted from performance to infrastructure. This private path strengthened his structural role in entertainment. While many stars concentrated solely on screen visibility, Spacey embedded himself within institutions. He cultivated credibility not just as a performer, but as curator and gatekeeper. Institutional power is quieter than box office numbers, yet often more durable. By the time House of Cards emerged in 2013, Spacey's authority extended beyond awards. He had credibility in film, leadership in theater, and increasing leverage in television. The trajectory appears strategic rather than accidental. When someone accumulates prestige, institutional authority, and executive influence simultaneously, does success begin to resemble insulation rather than exposure? By 2013, Kevin Spacey's career had moved beyond personal achievement. It had become structural. Netflix, then still competing for legitimacy against traditional studios and networks, committed more than $100 million to launch House of Cards. The decision was risky. Streaming had not yet proven it could carry prestige television at scale. Spacey's involvement reduced that uncertainty. His name signaled credibility. When House of Cards premiered in February 2013, all 13 episodes were released at once. The format disrupted weekly broadcasting norms. Viewers binge-watched. Critics debated whether this model would reshape the industry. At the center of the experiment stood Frank Underwood, a fictional politician who understood power as negotiation, leverage, and control. Spacey did not only portray Underwood, he served as executive producer. That role extended beyond acting. It placed him within creative and financial decision-making processes. He influenced tone, casting, and direction. In effect, he operated both inside and outside the frame. The series quickly gained awards recognition. He won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Television Series in 2015 and received multiple Emmy nominations. Subscriber growth for Netflix accelerated during this period, and House of Cards was repeatedly cited as a turning point for the platform's global expansion. Spacey became associated not just with character, but with the legitimacy of streaming itself. Simultaneously, his influence at the Old Vic continued to shape theater programming in London. Few actors balance that level of cross-industry authority. Film prestige from 2 Academy Awards, streaming dominance through a flagship series, institutional leadership within a historic theater. 3 spheres of cultural power intersected around his name. Publicly, his image remained disciplined. Interviews emphasized professionalism. Red carpet appearances were controlled. Personal life remained largely undisclosed. He cultivated a persona defined by composure. That composure reinforced perception of stability. Stability reassures investors. Stability reassures audiences. By the mid-2010s, Spacey occupied a rare category: indispensable. He was not easily replaceable because he was embedded in infrastructure. Removing him would not simply affect a role. It would disrupt contracts, schedules, marketing plans, and institutional partnerships. Yet history shows that systems built on influence can pivot when risk outweighs value. When allegations surfaced in October 2017, the same structures that once amplified his authority recalculated their exposure. If power once made him essential to the system, what happens when that same system decides it can function without him? October 29, 2017, an online interview published a claim from actor Anthony Rapp, who stated that in 1986, when he was 14, Kevin Spacey made an unwanted advance at a party in New York. The allegations surfaced publicly for the first time more than 3 decades after the alleged incident. Within hours, major news outlets repeated the story. Social media amplified it. The narrative expanded beyond one article. The speed of corporate response marked a shift in industry behavior. Netflix announced it was deeply troubled and suspended production involving Spacey. Within days, the company confirmed that the upcoming season of House of Cards would move forward without him. Production halted. Writers rewrote scripts. An entire season was redesigned to remove the central character. The man who anchored a $100 million series was replaced not through recasting, but through narrative erasure. The repercussions did not stop with one platform. Director Ridley Scott made a rare and costly decision regarding all the money in the world. Although the film had completed principal photography with Spacey in a supporting role, Scott ordered the scenes res-hot with Christopher Plummer. The replacement occurred only weeks before the film's scheduled release. Reshooting added millions in expenses. Yet the studio calculated that distance was safer than delay. The message was clear. Risk management outweighed precedent. Additional allegations surfaced in the days and weeks that followed. Several individuals claimed misconduct during the period Spacey served as artistic director of the Old Vic Theater between 2004 and 2015. The theater released statements acknowledging that it had received complaints tied to that era. Institutions once associated with his leadership began to separate their identities from his name. In response to the initial accusation, Spacey issued a public statement. He said he did not remember the encounter as described and, in the same message, announced that he chose to live as a gay man. The timing generated controversy. Advocacy groups criticized the conflation of sexual orientation with allegations of misconduct. The narrative shifted again, this time toward questions of accountability and motive. What unfolded over the next week illustrated a larger transformation in Hollywood. The hashtag #MeToo movement had already exposed patterns of abuse and silence within powerful industries. Corporations no longer waited for formal indictments before acting. Public perception carried financial consequences. Share prices, subscriber trust, brand identity, all could be affected by association. Spacey's career, built over nearly 30 years, encountered a collapse measured in days. Contracts were terminated, representation adjusted, invitations disappeared. The structure that once reinforced his authority recalibrated in real time. This was not a court ruling. It was a corporate decision. It did not depend on cross-examination or jury deliberation. It depended on exposure, optics, and brand preservation. When a company moves before a courtroom, which institution is exercising the greater power, the legal system or the marketplace? In 2018, the legal phase formally began. A criminal charge was filed in Massachusetts related to an alleged 2016 incident involving an 18-year-old. Spacey pleaded not guilty. The case initially appeared to escalate the crisis beyond corporate distancing. If convicted, it would not be about contracts or brand image. It would be about criminal liability. But in July 2019, the Massachusetts prosecutors dropped the case after the accuser invoked his Fifth Amendment right and declined to testify. The criminal proceeding ended without conviction. For supporters, this outcome signaled weakness in the evidence. For critics, it did not erase suspicion. The divide between legal resolution and public perception widened. Meanwhile, the civil lawsuit filed by Anthony Rapp advanced toward trial in federal court in New York. In October 2022, after deliberation, the jury found Spacey not liable. The verdict was clear. The burden of proof had not been met. The courtroom delivered its decision based on testimony and evidence presented under oath. In the United Kingdom, a separate investigation led to formal criminal charges connected to alleged incidents between 2001 and 2013. The trial concluded in July 2023 at Southwark Crown Court. The jury acquitted Spacey of 9 charges. Again, the legal system rendered a verdict of not guilty on record. Across jurisdictions, the outcome was consistent: no conviction, no civil liability in the most visible lawsuit. Legally, he was cleared in the cases that reached full trial. Yet the industry response did not reverse. There was no announcement restoring his role in House of Cards. No major American studio offered a new flagship project. The acquittals did not trigger a reinstatement of executive influence. The marketplace had already adapted to his absence. The contrast exposed a structural reality. Courts evaluate evidence according to specific standards. Corporations evaluate risk according to different criteria. A jury requires proof beyond reasonable doubt in criminal cases. A company requires confidence that association will not damage reputation. These thresholds do not align. Spacey's post-verdict interviews reflected a tone of relief, but also strain. He spoke about financial pressure and the sale of property to manage debt, the financial ecosystem that once supported him. Studio contracts, executive producer fees, high-profile endorsements had narrowed dramatically. Acquittal did not automatically restore earning power. The broader cultural context mattered. By 2017, the hashtag #MeToo movement had reshaped expectations around institutional response. Executives faced pressure to demonstrate zero tolerance. Waiting for verdicts risked appearing indifferent. Acting swiftly signaled alignment with a shifting moral climate. Whether that speed sacrificed due process in the public, I became part of ongoing debate. For some observers, Spacey's case illustrated necessary accountability. For others, it highlighted the power of accusation in a media-saturated era. Both interpretations coexisted. The legal record stated one outcome. The professional landscape reflected another. The internal collapse, therefore, was not only about allegations. It was about jurisdiction. One system cleared him. Another system, the entertainment marketplace, did not. If courts determine innocence based on evidence, but careers depend on perception, which verdict ultimately defines a public life. When the New York jury delivered its verdict in October 2022, Kevin Spacey stepped outside the courthouse and spoke briefly to the press. He thanked the jurors. He said he was grateful. Cameras captured the moment. For the first time in 5 years, a courtroom had publicly sided with him. In July 2023, after a 4-week trial in London, another jury acquitted him of 9 criminal charges. Standing outside Southwark Crown Court, he appeared composed, almost restrained. He spoke about humility. He spoke about relief. Legally, the most serious accusations had ended without conviction. On paper, this should have marked a turning point. In traditional narratives, acquittal clears the path for reinstatement. Studios resume negotiations. Publicists rebuild campaigns. The arc bends toward return. But in this case, the arc did not snap back. Major American studios did not announce new projects. Streaming platforms did not position him as headline talent. The infrastructure that once revolved around his presence did not reassemble. Instead, he began working in smaller European productions with limited distribution. The scale was different. Budgets were narrower. Marketing reach was modest. This phase was not silence. It was reduction. He remained active, but outside the machinery that once amplified him globally. The difference between survival and restoration became visible. Survival means continuing to act. Restoration means regaining structural power. Only the first occurred. In interviews, Spacey spoke about financial strain, mentioning property sales and debt. These admissions contrasted sharply with his peak years, when his name anchored projects valued in the hundreds of millions. Influence once created leverage. Leverage once created insulation. After 2017, that insulation vanished. The turning point, then, was not a triumphant comeback. It was a redefinition of scale. Acquittal removed legal jeopardy, but did not erase reputational risk in the eyes of corporate stakeholders. Insurance providers, distributors, and investors assess exposure differently from juries. Their calculus involves market reaction rather than evidentiary standards. Public opinion remained divided. Some argued that legal clearance should reopen doors. Others maintained that institutional trust requires more than courtroom outcomes. Social media amplified both positions. Unlike a verdict, perception does not conclude at a specific hour. It lingers and evolves. For Spacey, the rebirth was therefore constrained. He was no longer central to the narrative of streaming television or Hollywood prestige. He operated at the margins, relying on craft rather than corporate endorsement. The absence of large-scale projects did not negate his previous achievements, but it limited future amplification. This stage of his career raises a structural question. If a person is cleared by courts yet remains professionally sidelined, is that exile or consequence? Does cultural accountability extend beyond legal definitions? And who ultimately determines when or whether when the courtroom doors close and the headlines fade, does a verdict restore a career, or does the market write its own sentence? In the years following his acquittals, Kevin Spacey did not disappear, but he no longer occupied the center of Hollywood's attention. Independent projects in Europe marked his continued activity. Appearances at selective events signaled presence, not dominance. The industry had adapted to functioning without him. Platforms once built around his authority had recalibrated, yet his earlier work remains embedded in modern film history. The Usual Suspects continues to be cited for its narrative twist and controlled performance. American Beauty is still analyzed as a defining late 1990s cultural artifact. House of Cards remains a reference point in discussions about the evolution of streaming television. These achievements did not vanish with the accusations. They exist in parallel with controversy. This parallel reality complicates his legacy. Awards and accolades represent documented artistic accomplishment. Acquittals represent documented legal outcomes. Professional marginalization represents a market decision. Each layer carries its own logic. Together, they form a fractured narrative rather than a singular conclusion. For the industry, his case became an inflection point. Executives accelerated policies addressing workplace conduct. Human resources procedures tightened. Corporations adopted proactive risk management strategies rather than reactive ones. Whether those changes were comprehensive or symbolic, they reflected heightened awareness. Spacey's removal demonstrated that reputational exposure could outweigh past contributions. For audiences, interpretation varies. Some viewers separate art from artists. Others see performance through the lens of allegation. Rewatching House of Cards now often carries different context than it did in 2014. The character of Frank Underwood, a figure defined by strategic manipulation, feels altered when juxtaposed with the actor's public controversy. The interplay between fiction and biography reshapes perception. The distinction between legal exoneration and cultural restoration persists. A jury verdict resolves a case. It does not command collective sentiment. Market dynamics respond to confidence and consumer trust. Studios invest where uncertainty is minimal. In Spacey's situation, uncertainty did not fully dissipate. His legacy, therefore, may not be defined solely by performance or by accusation, but by the tension between the two. He stands as both an Oscar-winning actor and a case study in corporate crisis management during the #MeToo era. His career illustrates how swiftly structural allegiance can shift when risk calculations change. When history revisits this period, Will it focus on his craft, his controversy, or the transformation of institutional response that his fall accelerated? Kevin Spacey's story unfolds across three arenas: the courtroom, the marketplace, and public opinion. In court, he was acquitted. In the marketplace, he was replaced. In public discourse, he remains contested. These systems operate under different standards, yet they intersect in shaping reputation. A legal verdict answers a question of evidence. A corporate decision answers a question of exposure. A cultural reaction answers a question of trust. When these answers diverge, clarity dissolves. His rise demonstrates how prestige and institutional authority can consolidate influence. His fall demonstrates how swiftly that influence can be recalculated. The acquittals did not erase the rupture between legal innocence and professional restoration. In a media landscape defined by immediacy, the first headline often lingers longer than the final verdict. The question his case leaves behind extends beyond one individual. In the modern era, where is reputation truly decided? Under oath before a jury or in the instant reaction of a watching world?